And now back to my guest, Michael Warren. We were discussing the DHS deadline, an important deadline to talk about for this Friday. We also were just talking about Senator Ted Cruz saying that perhaps this could potentially backfire on Democrats if they don't go forward and support a bill that might perhaps remove language from President Obama's executive order on immigration. But I do want to be fair and balanced here and say that Cruz made that same argument during the government shutdown over the federal budget a few years back, as you probably remember, and it actually backfired, and voters held Republicans responsible. And so a lot are saying perhaps that could be the case this time around.
Yeah, I think that's probably about right. Look, Republicans are almost always blamed for government shutdowns or things where the government's not funded. That's, again, not to say that Republicans who really think that this is an important issue to be focusing on, that the Republicans who think that President Obama's executive order was unconstitutional, perhaps it's worth the short-term political fallout that comes from that. And I don't think that the Republicans who are arguing on the other side that we should just pass this clean DHS bill are necessarily on the side of truth, even if they're right that Republicans will lose short term. Long term, a lot of people aren't really that excited or interested in legalizing millions of illegal immigrants. And I think that in the long term, looking at 2016 and elections afterward, Republicans might be better served for taking a stand on this and taking the political backlash that comes from it.
And you don't have to be a political insider to know that if Republicans try to pass a bill that includes undoing some of President Obama's executive order on immigration, the president's going to veto it. Any bill, in fact, that has that language in it. And several Republican congressmen are now saying that it's time to pass that clean bill. But let me remind everyone, the deadline is this Friday, February 27th. That's just days away. So the question now is what happens? Should Republicans take out any reference to the president's immigration order to get DHS funded?
I think what's probably going to end up happening is they will pass something clean or cleaner, as I think some of the members of Congress have said. But you know, I mean, you could foresee a possibility where you've got Congress passing something that just simply extends it for another week or two while they have this fight. If the Republicans were actually united on this and made the case that, you know what, this is actually President Obama's who's refusing to pass something that would fund DHS except for this unconstitutional order, Republicans were united on that message, there might be a different political fallout from that. But you're really seeing a divide within the Republican conference on this. And that's why I think in the end you're going to see a lot of Republicans drag kicking and screaming for a clean bill. But, you know, I'll be watching closely what happens this week on Capitol Hill.
Okay, but, you know, with the threat of ISIS growing by the day, the Department of Homeland Security needs funding now, more than ever. If Congress is going to allow other issues to overshadow this important deadline, we could potentially putting ourselves at risk. I mean, at what point do we have to finally just see Republicans and Democrats come together on an issue like this? Perhaps put the immigration executive order on the back burner for now. Is that something that needs to be done?
It's probably what's going to be the argument we're going to hear over the next week. And again, that's probably what will happen. But this is a lot of the argument that people were talking about December, folks like Jeff Sessions in the Senate who were saying, you know, we should have this fight over the immigration executive order back in December during that lame duck session rather than pushing it to February, because who knows what will happen. And of course, events have changed and it's made it more difficult politically for Republicans to hold up this funding. Again, I really think that Republicans will end up passing this. There's going to be a lot of angry folks in that House caucus, but I predict on Friday we're going to see the DHS clean bill passed.
All right, Michael Warren, we'll have to wait and see. We hope you're right. Thank you very much.